So let's talk core activation for a second. Everybody knows and has read or seen or come across information that says if we can activate our core, we can make just about any exercise better. And there's several different corrective strategies out there that focus on core activation. Most commonly, you're going to see them used with the lifeline or great cook band. We can also do the same thing with the kettlebell. That's kind of become popular over the last couple of years. What I've seen with this is lots of problems. We say we want core activation, but then our application, the exercise, we're saying one thing and doing the other. We're saying we want to activate the core, but then how we actually apply the exercise, we don't actually get as much core activation as we possibly can out of the drill. In my opinion, we're kind of wasting a little bit of our time with that. What I mean is, so if we're using the great cook band, we'll say we're doing some core activation with our straight leg raise series. We'll start out with the bands overhead, and then we pull the bands down, and then we do whatever exercise we want to do within the straight leg raise series. But we have the core activation, so that makes this way better because now our core's engaged. Well, look at the line of pull. How engaged is my core? I might have a lot of stuff going on with my lats, but my midsection, there's really nothing going on here. So first thing, we have to make sure we have appropriate tension. So what I need to do with that is I need to set my anchor point a little bit further away so I can actually get some tension in the band a little bit before the point where my hands are down by my side. What makes it a little bit better is do the exact same thing, but now instead of coming all the way down here, what I want to do, I'm going to stop at a point below my shoulders but above my belly button, do the same thing. Run through all of that. What happens with that, when you stop at that point between your belly button and your shoulders, what we're doing is we're taking advantage of the developmental principle that I haven't heard anybody else talking about, that gets overlooked, on how we actually progress from being on the ground to standing up. Watch a baby, once they get to the point where they want to get up off the ground out of a seated position or quadruped position, and what do we hear mom and dad talk about, or grandparents talk about? Well, they grabbed onto the ottoman, they grabbed onto the coffee table, and they pulled themselves up. The question I'm going to ask is, when did that baby get the upper body strength to be able to pull themselves up? The answer is they didn't. What they've done is they put their hands above shoulder level, around shoulder level. They push down. When they push down, that activates this midsection, the middle of their trunk, to allow them to take full advantage of the lower body strength they've developed with their crawling, with their bridging, with all the stuff they've done on the ground up to this point. So all they're doing is they're pressing down to activate so that they can be more efficient through their transferring energy through their core, using their lower body muscles, using a little bit of their upper body to then stand up. Well, we're doing the same thing here. We're not activating the core. What we're doing is we're taking advantage of a developmental principle called pushing down. What we do is we push down to just below the shoulders, things turn on, and it makes whatever we're doing a little bit better. Now, if we apply that to a kettlebell, we've seen the same thing. Well, let's just put a bell overhead, and now we have core activation. Well, that's great, but look at this line of pull. It's down into my shoulder. This is I'm using as little energy as I can in this position because it makes it easy to hold here, but I'm not getting a lot of core activation. Well, if I open this up just a little bit and now go just above my shoulders, as soon as I do that, things turn on, and I relax. Now I'm trying to kind of see my belly. I'm trying to stay nice and jello-y through here, but as soon as I take that through, you can see things just turn on. And when I come back down, they turn off, no matter how relaxed I try to stay. Now, I'm not saying we need to take this arm and go way overhead. That's not great for the shoulder. All we need to do is move an inch or two so that the bell's about ear level. Shoulder's not in a bad position. Actually, shoulder's still fairly straight. But now I actually am getting some core activation with this. Now, with that, though, and we're taking advantage of that same principle of getting that arm above the shoulder, having to resist the midline from opening up, things turn on. Now, if we really want to get down to it, if we want to get to the first time we really see that core activation taking place, is if we put someone in quadruped. Now, if you followed stuff on movement restoration, you know I'm probably not going to talk about crawling because everybody else talks about crawling, and I think a lot of that's not the most correct information out there. But there is a lot of benefit from quadruped. So if you want to actually see the core turning on reflexively, quadruped is the best place to accomplish that, and the earliest place in the developmental sequence that we can do that and truly get a reflexive outcome that we're looking for. So it's pretty complicated. What you're going to do, in a good quadruped position, here comes a really complicated explanation of what you need to do. You're going to take your knees, you're going to lift them about 1 inch to 2 inches off the ground and back down. And when you do that, no matter what you do, no matter how relaxed you try to stay, as soon as you lift your knees 1 inch or 2 off the ground, everything in here turns on. That goes back to that reflexive nature of things turning on when they need to turn on, no matter what we try to do. And that's kind of what we're going for with our core activation. We want things to turn on as we initiate the movement or slightly before we initiate the movement. And we really get that in that quadruped position. Or if we're doing the great coach stuff, don't pull all the way down to your side. Stop at belly button or below shoulder. Or if you're using a kettlebell, go just above shoulder height. We'll get that actual reflexive activity based off of our neurodevelopmental progression sequences and our neurodevelopmental principles, as opposed to just trying to do an exercise and doing it poorly. So try it. Let me know how it goes.